Our group name is Central 2, and the members of our group included Darian Lopez,
Gabrielle Diego,
Samantha Roderick,
Shelby Yukich,
and Emily Frommel.
Nice. And for our project, we had to monitor our daily steps and implement a prize-based contingency to increase our daily steps. For our study that we replicated was called the preliminary efficacy of prize-based contingency management to increase activity level in healthy adults by Washington, Bana, and Gibson, 2014. The study had a total of 11 adults in college who wore a Fitbit accelerometer for a 3-week period using an ABA design. During the baseline and intervention phases, the participants were required to make regular lab visits on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Participants attended lab visits to verify wearing the Fitbit, charging the device, uploading data, and to draw their prize. Prize draws were awarded for wearing the device during the baseline phases, and during the intervention phase, a step criterion was calculated for each participant that had to be met to receive access to the prize draw. Daily step count was texted or emailed to the researchers at the end of each day throughout their 3-week period. And the results of the studies indicated that an increased daily step count occurred during the intervention period. Steps increased an average of 23% from the baseline 1 phase to the intervention phase.
Through the literature review, it was found that utilizing behavior change strategies to increase physical activity was proven to be successful. The University of Missouri researchers found that adults who received interventions that focused on behavior change strategies were able to significantly increase their physical activity. They concluded that individuals cannot motivate themselves to work out by just thinking about it, but by implementing strategies to change their behavior. Pedometers have also shown to increase physical activity in individuals. Harris et al. Found that pedometers increase an individual's average amount of steps by 2,491. Tudor and Locke found that pedometers aid in self-monitoring and individualized goal setting. In a study conducted by Curdy and Dallery, the use of pedometers to track steps taken, along with contingency management, resulted in an increase in physical activity. They outlined the 3 basic requirements of contingency management as the target behavior is readily detected, reinforcement is provided contingent on demonstrating the target behavior, and reinforcement is withheld contingent on not demonstrating the target behavior. Ball et al. Also found that the use of contingency management increased physical activity in adults and reduced the amount of time that they were sitting.
The purpose of the project was to replicate and confirm the results found in our selected study. Each member of our group used a pedometer or accelerometer, either a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, and recorded their steps throughout the 3-week period. Using the ABA design, the first week was the baseline 1 phase, the second week was the intervention phase, and the last week returned to the baseline phase. During the intervention period, each group member was able to electronically choose a prize written on our shared Google Doc.
All of the participants in this study were enrolled in the course Spce 611, Advanced Applied Behavior Analysis. The participants were females between the ages of 24 to 28 years old. Each participant wore a pedometer during all waking hours of the day. The purpose of the study was for all subjects to increase their steps. Each participant wore either an iWatch or a Fitbit through the whole day to track their steps and activity. The settings that were involved in the study included work, home, stores, gym, and anywhere else the participant went while wearing the pedometer. Along with the pedometer, the materials in the study also included prizes that the participant would earn if they increased their steps from the previous day. The prizes included activities that were reinforcing for the participants, such as an hour of Netflix, a sweet treat, skipping homework for the night, a date night, 1 hour of social media, dinner at your favorite restaurant, or a spa day. These prizes were decided among the group before starting the first baseline phase of the study. To imitate the original study, the prize list was entered into a random list generator to give an individual number to each prize. Each time a participant earned a raffle ticket, they used a random result generator that provided them with a raffle number that correlated to their individual prize.
Daily steps were collected at the end of each day. For our behavioral definition, we defined a step as putting one foot in front of the other in an effort to move. An example of taking a step would be taking a step forward or backwards with the intent of moving to a destination. And a non-example for taking a step would be taking steps in place with no intent to move to a destination.
Steps were tracked on a pedometer, either an iWatch or a Fitbit. Each participant recorded their steps on a shared Excel sheet that the entire group had access to. The steps that were recorded on the Excel sheet were then placed on an ABA design which displays each participant's activity. The first phase was baseline, then the second phase was a treatment phase, then the last phase was a return to baseline. Each participant switched to the next phase based on if their steps were at a stable rate. For each participant, each phase differed on the number of data points for each. Some participants switched between phases quicker than others and had longer baseline and treatment phases.
For our baseline data, all participants were asked to wear their Fitbit or Apple Watch for 6 to 8 days, depending on the participant's data. Participants were given a raffle ticket as long as they were wearing their pedometer. The participants shared their data on the Excel sheet on Google Docs.
During treatment, participants earned a prize each day if the number of steps they walked was higher than the 5th highest day within the last 7 days. Prizes also included 50% verbal praise and 50% material items.
Next, I'm going to talk about the IOA and treatment integrity. To prove fidelity and that the participants were all participating in the study correctly, we recorded daily steps on a shared spreadsheet. We also shared screenshots of daily step counts. As you can see in the photo on the right, this would just prove that the participant actually did make that exact number of steps. And then we had weekly meetings to share our progress and discuss our prizes. This was a single subject research design, so no IOA was recorded on individual step count because they were each participant was responsible for collecting their own data. However, as a group, we did review the step data and determine prizes. So now we're going to go ahead and go through our results. So this is my graph here. This was my first time ever wearing a pedometer. So just wearing the device motivated me to increase my daily step count. My average daily steps during the initial baseline phase was 12,567 steps. I did have some unstable data due to the fact that I do waitress a few days a week, and on these days I seem to have a higher daily step count. But overall, I increased my step count significantly during the treatment phase, and I did this by taking daily walks or runs. My average daily steps during this phase was 17,300 steps, which is 4,733 more than what my average baseline was. I earned a prize every day during the treatment phase, except for October 6th. I only had 12,204 steps. This did not qualify me to earn a prize since I had such high step counts earlier in the treatment phase. During the return to baseline, I did not walk or run every day, and this took me down to an average of 10,367 daily steps.
Next is my results for my baseline intervention and the return to baseline. My initial average step count during the baseline was 4,182, and during the treatment phase, my average number of steps taken was 6,303. As for my return to baseline, the average steps that I took were 4,027. I was able to earn prizes every day except on October 6th and 7th. I have to say that this was a bit difficult to accomplish just because most of my day consists of sitting down. I work with clients, so most of my day is sitting down. But because I was wearing the pedometer, I was encouraged to get moving even during the times that I was at work. So yeah, and we can see that during the intervention phase, my average number of steps was higher than my baseline or my return to baseline.
During my baseline 1 phase and my baseline 2 phase, variable data was demonstrated, and then stable levels were able to occur during my intervention phase. My average number of steps taken during the initial baseline phase was 8,130 steps, and during the intervention period, my average number of steps increased to 8,239 steps, and then my average during my second baseline phase then decreased to 6,760 steps. I also work at a school and get most of my daily steps from recess duties and outdoor activities. And then during my personal time, also like being outside, walking or running. And it should be noted that during the time of our intervention, my local weather has experienced really heavy rains that were not typical to the season. So a lot of our recess duties were canceled, and I opted out of going outside because it was very hard, very severe torrential downpour rain. And that affected my step data during the intervention period and second baseline. And I was able to achieve prizes on all the days for increasing my steps except for October 4th and October 10th.
During the first baseline phase, my average daily steps was 5,280. Then during the treatment phase, my average daily steps increased to 5,822 once I began to return to the gym and also run. Then once I returned back to baseline, my average daily steps continued to increase to 9,239. The increase during baseline was due to the fact that I continued to stay active and go to the gym during the second baseline. I also noticed, like Gabby had mentioned earlier, at work when I would notice that my steps were fairly low, when I would look down at my watch, it motivated me to get up and move around more because my job also, I do a decent amount of sitting down and staying in the same place, but I made sure I tried to stay active and increase my steps. For this study, I earned prizes each day during the treatment phase besides on October 4th and 7th, which may have contributed to the fact that I did not do as much walking that day at work.
So these are my results. I wear my Apple Watch every single day, but I don't really pay much attention to my step count until doing this study. During baseline, my average number of steps taken was 6,571. During treatment, my average number of steps increased to 7,165 when I actually focused on trying to increase my step count. And when I returned to baseline, my step count decreased to 5,502. Like Sam and Gabriella said, I sit a lot at my job. It kind of depends on which client I'm working with. So that plays a huge role in how many steps that I take during the day. I earned prizes every day besides October 4th and 5th.
So we all made some conclusions based off the results that we had, and one of them would definitely be that wearing the pedometer was more motivation to increase our step counts than the daily prizes. Like some of the other girls mentioned, just having that on and checking our steps throughout the day. Also, too, my Fitbit would buzz me when I hadn't gotten enough steps yet for that hour. So that was motivation to get going. It is difficult, though, to increase steps in already active young adults. And this related to the study that we were replicating, because that study did mention that all the participants were active young adults, just like we are. So it's already hard to make us more active when we already are currently active. I also think that we would have had better results had we met in person like the original study. Of course, that brings us into limitations. Tudor, Locke, and Lutz from 2009 states that people are more accountable and more motivated to work out when they are calculating what physical activity they are doing, and especially when they are sharing that data with others. That was mentioned earlier in our literature review, and this was also shown in our group average increase of 1,619 daily steps during our treatment phase. So that was pretty awesome that we all went up on average. So some limitations to our study. Of course, first and foremost, everything was done remotely. We had to have electronic prize options due to this. And then, of course, no expensive prizes because we all are broke college students. So all of our prizes did have to be free or as close as possible to being free. Another limitation would be that we had short phase durations. We were limited. We actually replicated the study exactly as it was, just the 3 weeks, 1 week for each, depending on our data. But I believe that longer durations would have produced more stable data for us. Also, there was no verification of who was actually wearing the pedometer for the study. So technically, we could have had a family member or a friend wearing our pedometer for us and marking their steps down on the spreadsheet. So we did have to have some trust among our group members for that. We had a limited amount of participants in our study, just 5 of us. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, the value of the prizes, that it could have been greater. Again, we were kind of limited in what we could spend on prizes. And then the last limitation I wanted to discuss was the proof of actually receiving a prize. Some of us may have selected, for instance, an hour on Netflix that night, but we might have had 2 hours of reading or homework to do that night, and maybe we didn't actually even give ourselves that prize that we selected. We didn't really have proof that we did the prize that we had selected for the study. I would like to thank you guys for listening to our presentation on increasing daily steps, and I think that we all really benefited from our study. Thank you so much.